Welcome to Cage Minds. I'm Mika Frankl, and today we got a great guest, a Renaissance man, podcaster, photographer, boxer, kickboxer, Muay Thai fighter, a mixed martial artist at UFC 225. That was all the way back in 2018. He put a beating on CM Punk. April 23rd, he fights Dean Barry. He's Mike the Truth Jackson. Sir, thank you for the time today. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
And I'm pretty sure with that introduction, I got everything right. Did I miss anything there?
Nah, you hit all the nails on the head. You just bang, bang, bang down the road, man. I like it.
Man, what do you think about that first term I hit you with, Renaissance Man?
It's one that I use myself, to be honest with you. I feel I'm a jack of all trades. I have a lot of skills and a lot of interests that falls into that category. So for me, it just makes all the sense. And I appreciate you for acknowledging it as well.
And I gotta wonder, was that intent to be limitless? What gave you that courage to expand yourself, to go after all these different interests?
You know, I have a lot of interest just in life. And for me, I never wanted to put myself in a box. And I just went out, and if it's interesting and if it's fun, if it's engaging for me, if I can try it out, if I can become a fan of it, then I'm down. And so for me, it worked out that way for me, man. You know, for me, I always tell people, like, man, my shit always works out sometimes. And for me, all of these interests that I have, just it does something for me. It brings me in. It captivates me, and so I just enjoy what I do. I enjoy having these vast interests. I get to meet different people from all different walks of life. I have interesting conversations, but more importantly, I feel, and it's the biggest one, is just growth. When you have all these interests and you get access to all these different people and their opinions and their ideas, and you get to internalize that and form your own opinions and ideas, man. And it's put me in the position I am today, just in life, you know, for knowledge. Because that's really what I'm here for, is a quest for knowledge, man. And so when I get that from so many different people, man, I just love it.
Which one was first? Which one of these interests that you're known for, these varied interests that you're doing daily, which one was first?
Which one was first? If I had, oh man, I would probably have to say the fighting, which is crazy because no one expected me to be a fighter, even like in high school. For me, I grew up a boxing fan, a pro wrestling fan, and that kind of just trickled. You know, when as a kid, I wanted to do karate. My mom wouldn't let me do that. So I was still on my cousin competing in karate. So I'm going and sitting in the bleachers watching him, you know, his tournaments and stuff. But yeah, I would, again, ironically, that's the one that I ended up falling to really I started at a young age. But then there's this middle period that I gained all these other interests that kind of shaped me, and people thought, oh, you would be like something with basketball, or maybe an engineer or a doctor or something. I was like, nah, fighting. So that's what we hear, man. And crazy thing is my life, for the most part, all of it, one facet or the other, revolves around fighting.
Not a lot of people thought you'd be a fighter. First time I saw you, though, was in a legacy kickboxing ring doing a kickboxing match. So my mind was blown when I saw you a couple weeks later as a photographer. When did you become the artist? And is it artist or is it journalist? Because you're a photojournalist.
No. I love that. And you see, it's like you read my mind. You know, the journalist thing kind of came about at a time when it wasn't really a space. So for me, I got started on the MMA or the media side of combat sports around 2009. And there was no, especially in the Houston market, there was no, like, for local MMA, there was no coverage. So for me, I have this charismatic personality. I enjoy being in front of the camera. So I found there was an opportunity. I was at the right place, right time. I knew the right people, had the right connections. So I kind of jumped in it and jumped in and ran with it, you know, and that kind of parlayed and it's really where I am today is because of that. but it was just a time where nothing was going on. You know, all the stuff that we seeing now in MMA media, like I was doing that in 2000, you know, 2010, 2009, 2010. But that's why I looked at it. That's why I was, I guess, considered it from a journalist perspective. But fast forward a little bit, you add the, you know, I'm doing the videography, the photography really comes in. And that's when I really found, I was like, oh shit, like you really have a gift for this. When I started doing the videography, was cool. Like I enjoyed doing videos, like, 'cause I was doing, I would do like the undercard videos for Legacy Fighting Championship back in the day. I would do my own video blog. So I enjoyed it from a storytelling perspective. But when I got behind the camera from the photography side, that my vision, it went to another level. It surpassed the video side of it, and people really got to see. They really got to see the artistry that I possess. And so for me, man, like I said, like I'm the Basquiat MMA photography out here. Man, I feel that I just provide. I provide this art for fighters, man, and even as I'll tell you where that came from. So I remember my first fight was in 2008. I still have these pictures, by the way, and I get the fight photos after, and they're like blurry, out of focus. Now in a moment, I'm in love. I'm like, yo, these are so dope, and you know all this shit, right? But fast forward 14 years, and I'm like, these are some shitty pictures. You know, so, and I love them, right? But then when you see the artwork that I put out for fighters, it's not, I don't even say night and day. This is on a whole nother MCU type dimension, right? This is a whole nother universe as far as the quality. And then more importantly, is how I get the reaction I get from fighters. For me, I love candid shots. I love emotional shots, whether it's inside the ring, outside the ring. You know, I give you a story real quick. So I shoot jiu-jitsu super fights as well. And I love watching kids perform. Kids, they're some of the best competitors, right? So I'm sitting there and we have like the fog machine, the lights and everything, the LED screens in the background. So it made for this amazing shot. The kid is walking out. He goes down to a knee and he says, like, he does a little sign across, says a prayer. And in a moment, I'm just shooting a picture. It looked cool, right? It was for me, it was more the artistry of it, right? Take the picture, and then I end up posting it. Well, like a day or two later, like this kid's, I think his mom or grandma hits me up, and he was like, "Oh my God, this is one of the most beautiful photos I've ever seen." And I'm not really like, and I get that, like everyone, art is very subjective. And so they go and tell me the story about how the kid's grandfather recently passed and it had this connection. They show the picture to their family. They're all in awe of it and they love the picture. I end up selling like 10 prints of that picture to like all family members. For me, it was the art. It was just a beautiful frame, beautiful moment in time, right, that I captured. For this family, it meant it was almost a invaluable moment for them. Like they couldn't put a price tag on this photo. And for me, that's why I love it. This last Sunday, there was a kid. I never seen a kid fight. He had like 1 or 2 amateur fights. Never seen a kid fight. He has this huge crowd of supporters, right? He was fighting for a title. He goes out there, gets a crazy finish. The crowd goes wild. Well, right outside the cage front, like cage side front row at a table was his family, like his mom, his grandma. And I just happened to be on that side of the cage as he's walking out. And I have this beautiful photo of him and his mom being embraced and hugged, and they're crying because they're happy because their son and grandson just won this, and it's just an amateur title. Of all things, it's an amateur title that I'm not going to say it means nothing, but it has little value, you know, on the grand. If you're trying to become a UFC champion or anything like that, which I feel this young man is, it has no real significance, you know. And this is someone who's been in the sport for a very long time, right? But in that moment, this was the peak of his life. I feel at this moment, he's now become an amateur champion. You know, and in some kids' eyes, not to say that this is going to be the pinnacle of his career, but what if it is? I was there to capture this incredible moment that he'll remember forever. His family will remember forever. And so, yeah, man, that's really why I enjoy what I do, and why I have such a passion behind my artwork, and why I feel I'm such a great photographer, especially in this combat sports space.
Talked about those first photos from 2008, and there was a thought that I got lost where I'm like, man, I've had that same kind of moment where somewhere in 2010, 2011, I was staying up all night editing photos from a little digital camera, and I'm like, oh yeah, people are liking this one on Facebook, and I look at them now and I'm like, oh, that is so grainy and kind of blurry. What were
Dude,
we doing?
I'll take the grain. It's not even, man, these shits was out of focus. It was motion blur. But again, it captured the moment in time. You know, I look at it because I'm such a first of all, I love history as well. So I love going back, and I watch these little time-lapse videos from like the 1920s, 1910s. And even in then, right, you got these moments in time that you're able to capture that technically should live on forever, right? And all these, they come from different moments in time with the technology advancing. So back then, you know, you may get a shot of some celebrity athlete or regular person, but it's kind of like a little motion blur, a little out of focus, but we get it. That's the amazing shot at the time. And then you fast forward now, and you get this Mika Truth photo that you can make a poster out and hang up on your wall. And is obviously it's better quality, but it means it has the same value, I feel, from the persons in the 20s or whatever, that old period of time. Whatever they felt for that image, it's the same feeling you're going to get in 2022 when you see one of my shots. You're like, oh my God, this is an amazing shot, you know? So again, that's why I love what I do.
You do a lot, and a big part of what you do, or at least the brand, is the truth. When did Mike the Truth Jackson, when was that moniker born?
Oh man, that tells you about the college. So that came about way before fighting. This came about, let's see, I got to college 2003. This came about 2006-ish, 2005, 2006. It was right when, I can't remember the hurricane, maybe Katrina. And at the time I was at Texas A&M, and Tulane, was out in New Orleans, affected by the hurricane. They had to, their basketball, like they split up some of their sports team, like football. I can't remember where the football team went. They went somewhere else in Texas, but the Tulane basketball team came to A&M. At the time, I was like, I was a career student. Well, I was early in my career student days, but I spent a lot of time at the rec playing basketball. And, you know, I met the basketball team, was hooping with those guys, became real good friends with a cat named Vince Camper, and amazing basketball player. He's now hooping out in the Drew League in Cali. He's from LA. He's out there in the Drew League right now doing his thing. He's like the MVP of that. He's blowing it up. He should be in the NBA, but man, there's a lot of nepotism and all that shit going on, but whatever. But anyway, we was in my room one night. We was just hanging out, and I'm not a freestyler. Never was my thing. I was always a numbers guy, not a wordsmith in that respect. But so I had the pencil, and we was just doing the little beats on the table. And my man, he was kicking up this crazy flow, and in his flow, he said something about, he said Mike Jackson. He said, oh, he's the truth, da da da. And in that moment, I was like, oh shit, that bar is hard. And then and it kind of just stuck. And so my boy Vince Camper gave me the name The Truth. Had nothing to do with fighting. It was just a moment in time for us, this friendship with my guy. Well, then fast forward, a couple years, and I'm getting into fighting, and I'm feeling out. I remember, I remember as I'm training, and people are kind of calling me that. But then when my fight comes up and on the paper, it was like, you got like a fight nickname. And I was like, oh shit, this is where it is. So I wrote down The Truth, and shit, man, it's been Mike the Truth ever since.
There was no thought of going ravishing Mike Jackson.
It was a moment because I feel I'm a ladies' man, you know what I'm saying? So there was a point in time, and we spoke about this off camera, but it was I was main eventing for a fight. It was on for one of Mick Maynard's cars. Now it was Legacy. It was like a Legacy Amateur. See, it was Legacy at the time. They transferred from Lone Star Beatdown. But I wore the spats, some white spats too. The yammies was out, they were looking good, the thighs was looking nice, the ladies was loving it. And then of course, because I'm a fan of Ravish and Rig Rude, right? I put the face on the thigh. So I had to, and that was my inspiration. You know what? I think I'm gonna need to do another pair of those just for my own self, for the shits and giggles. But I loved it. In that moment, I was like, oh shit. What if we was ravishing Mike the Truth or ravishing Mike Jackson? And I was like, ooh, that's hard. But the truth was already established, so we couldn't go back.
I've seen some podcasts, some interviews with you, and I feel like it's natural. It's like you talk to a Ric Flair and you hear them, their character isn't a character. It's them just kind of that volume turned up to 10. Is
Right.
that what happens kind of when you're on?
Dude, you're like in my head. I swear you are. We have this connection, it must seem. That's exactly what it is. For me, the truth is it's a persona, but it's not created. It's me, but it's amplified. You know, I'm in a space where you have to grab attention. You know, it's not even from this fighter side, but from definitely the media personality side, because that's what I am. I'm a media personality. So being a personality, you have to have something, right? Whether it's the charisma. Now, if I don't have the charisma, if I'm a boring dude, that's fine, but you have something about that has to stand out. You can't just be boring. Everybody can be boring. You have to be boring with like a niche or something, a flavor. Like, what's your thing? And now, I don't want to give it, I ain't gonna give out no free advice, but whatever your thing is, you should use it. For me, this is just who I am. I enjoy being in front of the camera. I enjoy talking to people. And it just flows that way, man. And it works out for me. And it just, man, I just love what I do.
I'm a fan from far. Like I said, the first time I see you, you got the gloves on, but then I'm seeing you outside the cage, taking the photos, doing the interviews, the podcast. It's growing, it's bigger. You're becoming this personality. You're known. When does the itch hit you that you want to compete again and you call out a celebrity in Phil Brooks?
You know, I just love fighting. For me, I don't have to fight. Like, if I never fought again, like if I never got to the UFC, like that'd have been cool. Right? I was doing some other shit before I got the call, right? This is all, it's the cherry on top. Literally, all of this is just, I'm playing with house money at this point. So everything that I am, that I've already got my investment out. So everything that happens right now is house money. And so I'm keep running that up, right? I get these moments being around fighting so much. Sometimes I don't give a shit about fighting, is what it is, right? But then like I'll go shoot a card and it's some crazy action. My teammates are fighting. I got good friends that's fighting, and I'll get it in a moment. I'm like, yo, I want to fight. Let's go. Right. And it may dissipate like after I get home. I'm wearing no pigeon. I'm tired. Oh, fuck fight. I don't want to do that no more. But in that moment, I was actually rehabbing. I took some time off by doctor's orders. It was like 2016 before the Gall fight. I was taking some time. I coincidentally taken like 2 months off, I want to say. Got the call for Gall. They telling me all this kind of happens. I'm like, shit, come off the couch, let's do it, right? That whole thing goes down. Gall gets the Punk fight. That happens. I call out like that was gonna happen exactly how I called it. And then Buddy went on ESPN and he called me a can. I took offense to that, and I was like, all right, I gotta go beat up this dude to show him what was up. And it was just it was a great moment in time for all of these things to play out, and I just had to capitalize on it. And I feel that's all I felt. Again, I've been just playing with house money at this point, capitalizing off these opportunities, man, and I'm just enjoying the way.
Sounds like you crossed the finish line. You completed a big goal right there. What was your thought process after 225? Were you just thinking, I got to get back in the gym to improve if I want to do this again? I'm happy doing my media stuff. What was your objective after that fight?
No, 100%. It was I never I never just like, yo, this is it for me. At that point, I still wanted to fight. I still wanted to compete. Like I love this sport. I've been in it for over a decade. I don't take real damage, whether it's training, whether it's in fights. I haven't taken any crazy damage. That's why I'm so as witty as, you know, I'm on point like I am with the verbiage skills and things like that. So for me, it was always like, yo, let's give it a shot. And then playing with house money at this point, you're like, let's see what happens. You know, worst case is I lose, and all right, well, shit, that was cool, you know. But I knew that wasn't it, you know. And again, you have to have these right opportunities. That's why I think I called it like Arthur Lowball at a time. I had fought at 55. He fought at 50. I know he was a 45 in the UFC, but we both competed at 55. Coincidence, you know, the whole Irish thing now, right? That's funny as I say that out loud. But I thought it would have, and stylistically, the fight, because I know where my skills lie. I know what I'm really good at, and in that moment, that fight was it seemed like it, because I remember going down. I went down the UFC roster just to see like where people lie, especially in the weight class, and what fight would make sense if they gave me someone who was already on the roster. And that was a fight that made sense. I was like, yo, let's do Artem Lobov. And then that never came to fruition. I don't think it was going to happen just because of the discrepancy in fights. So it was really just a waiting game. And again, because I don't have to fight, I wasn't in a position like, what am I going to do next? I'm living my life. I'm living my best life by that, you know, by that means. So it was really just a waiting game, you know, and just still enjoying the process.
What made Dean Barry the right name?
Dean, you know, how did that? Okay, he and I actually set that fight up. His manager, I guess whether because he's Irish, I don't know. I don't really know. And again, it's all about who you know. It's all about the connections he had with his management. I want to say he's with Sucker Punch. I guess he has something over in Ireland. Like people really like this kid, and so they know I need to fight. And look, they signed this kid for me. He thinks like they signed him for him. They signed him for me. So because the fight has to make sense. They're not gonna put me as someone, you know. Although I have, you know, I'm 4-0, 4 knockouts in boxing, 1-0 with a knockout in kickboxing. I have like a bare knuckle fight. I had like a Muay Thai fight. So I had these combat sports experiences prior to the pro MMA, right? But even with that, I had two MMA fights. So I have 2 MMA fights, 4 boxing, 6 kickboxing, 7 in Muay Thai 8. So I had like 9 pro fights, right? But only 2 in MMA. They're not gonna put me in there with somebody like 10 MMA fights or 15 MMA fights, which is typically the people that you're going to see in the UFC. So I'm assuming this kid, they're looking for someone. He's on the kind of thing. They reach out to his manager and say, hey, here's a fight for you. You want to take it? Well, Dean reaches out to me on Instagram and say, hey, and again, at first it was kind of cool. Like it started off as like a no disrespect kind of thing, but for whatever reason, it kind of got disrespect. Well, it's kind of relative, right? Got kind of a little disrespectful toward the well, kind of right now too, where it's at when I'm talking he lying a little bit. But he reached out, was like, hey, I don't know if you even still fighting. I got your name. Can we make this happen? And I was like, let's do it. He asked me when I'd be ready. And I think he hit me up maybe like August of 2020. Probably like August, September 2020. And then we ended up finally getting things signed in December 2020. I was told the fight was going to be in Vegas. They flip around and say, nah, we're going to send you to Abu Dhabi. Well, I had lost my passport, wasn't going to be able to get in time. Then they moved it to, and I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't want to go to Fight Island anyway. I said that when Fight Island first came about, I was like, I never want to go to Fight Island. And then I didn't go to Fight Island. But not because I didn't want to, it's just I didn't have a passport at the time. But fast forward, they were going to move the fight to Vegas in May. We still had the COVID, pandemic going on. So it's still going on a lot, It's still running crazy out here. But we had a little bit of a shutdown, so he couldn't come. But then he started running his mouth saying like his management said that I was the reason, or he was lying on some shit. I was like, bro, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know why the fight isn't being signed. He's messing me like make it happen. I'm like, dude, you got a whole management team. Tell them to make it happen. I'm over here living my best life. He's struggling. He got a new kid. He's poor. He's poor on top of having a new kid. So that sucks, right? So this guy is in a position where he needs to fight. I'm not in that position. My life is lovely, right? So I think being in that position, trying to force this, he's going out here, he's talking a little reckless. Hey, it is what it is. Because you don't have to back that shit up. He's over here talking, he's like putting a $50,000 bounty on my head. I'm going to knock him out, get the bounty. Look, all that talk is cool. But when that cage closes, you have to understand, it ain't going to be the dude sitting on the outside taking pictures. It ain't going to be the dude that was sparring against CM Punk. He's about to get the killer. And that's what he wants, apparently. And so I'm going to make his day.
So we're saying that every so often the heat on this matchup is getting turned up. There's a little bit more banter being thrown out that's not pleasantries.
Yeah, again, in the DMs, which I got banned from Instagram for cooking too many white nationalists. I wish I still had the DMs. I wish I had the receipts to show where this dude is coming from, but it is what it is. But that's really what it comes down to, Mike. We start off nice and cordial, trying to get him signed, get him a fight in the UFC, because that is his objective. That is his goal in life. I don't know if he's trying to be Conor McGregor or whatever he's trying to do, but he has aspirations and he's trying to achieve them, right? So he's talking a little reckless right at this point. And again, I get it. It's the fight game. I don't necessarily take it personal, but like the CM Punk fight, you say these things, there are consequences for your actions. And it just so happens we get to fight. Like, it's not like it's something outside and the laws are involved. You gotta be like, we literally gonna get locked in the cage. and we can settle this, And for me, I just simply feel my skills are far superior than what he had. Like, the weapons and arsenal that I bring to a fight are going to be superior to what he brings to the fight. I know what he brings to the fight. I know he thinks he knows what I'm bringing to the fight, and that's lovely. I guess we're going to see whose skill set is better.
I'm just sitting here in Albuquerque, so I'm assuming I haven't been out there to Houston. I don't hang out with you, but we know it's been over 3 years since you've been in the cage. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people are putting way too much stock into a situation 3 years ago. And by the way, if you're not smart enough to see the fundamentals of your striking game that were apparent in that matchup, that's on the other people.
100%, man. And like the great, Roger Mayweather say, RP to him, most people don't know shit about boxing. And in this case, most people don't know shit about fighting, right? I have been not only have I been competing in the sport for 14 years, I was a student of fighting way longer than that, since I was a kid. Even now, more so, I'm more of a student of the fighting now than I was then. I feel even since the Punk fight, like, I've grown so much. Now, I haven't grown I haven't added these new, crazy updated skills or whatever. But as a fighter, I'm far better than I was in that moment. And even in that fight, I go back and watch the Punk fight, and not only do you fight to the level of the competition sometimes, but there was many reasons. Like, for me, it never really was a fight per se, because I never had real intentions. Like, I wasn't going in there to hurt the guy. Like, that was never my intentions. My intentions were always to go in there, beat him up so he doesn't come back. Right? It was never to go out and like just maul this dude, and because he's not gonna learn nothing from that. I wanted him to learn a lesson. And I there is no doubt in my mind Punk learned a lesson that night. I sent him to the emergency room, and now he's doing commentary. He's not even thinking about fighting because he understands. And again, it's not a knock on him. Not everybody's meant to do everything. It's just what it was in that time. Fighter had passed him up. He was doing this in like his late 30s, 40s, whatever. It's not for you, right? So I had to go in there, and that was and fulfill the goal that I had, just to beat his ass and make him where. And then that was a crazy thing. Like, MMA fans should be happy. Like, that I beat him up and he's gone. Like, because that was the whole thing. Like, why is he here? I was like, all right, I'll send him packing. But then they're like, oh, you didn't kill him. I'm like, bro, y'all are doing way too much. But to your point, if you watch the fight, you see the striking credentials. And I say this not even from with the bias. If I take the bias out and I'm looking from third person, you can clearly see my level of striking. And I don't even think the striking was in that. I didn't even really show too much. I show a fraction of what I'm capable of. But even in a fraction that I showed, my level of striking, I'll even go as far as to say that level of striking that I had showed in the Punk fight is far better than people who even at some high UFC levels, you know. And I'm talking, and again, not talking about overall MMA game, just talking the striking, the boxing, the kickboxing aspect of it. Now, you get to the higher level, of course, you're going to have some murderers out there, right? But at the level I'm competing at, and again, I'm doing this for shits and giggles. I'm not trying to be champion or ranked and all that shit. At the level that I'm doing, my skill set is far superior, and I've only gotten better, which is crazy because I thought I was good then. I'm at a whole nother level right now. You know what I'm saying? So if that's what you look at, the Punk fight, again, cool. That's fine. Y'all are going to see some art. Y'all are going to see, because again, I feel, like I said, I'm a boss guy to MMA photography. I'm an artist with these hands. I do some cool shit with these hands, right? That's what you're going to see April 23rd. You're going to get to see the cool shit. You're going to get if you're a fan of fighting, you're going to love the artistry, the beauty of the violence I'm going to bring April 23rd. You're going to enjoy that. Because that's what you're a fan of. You're like, people get mad. Oh, you didn't finish CM Punk. You suck. All right, cool. You're not a fight fan. You may be a UFC fan, and it's cool. I respect that. But if you're a fight fan, I guarantee you're going to appreciate what I bring to the table, especially April 23rd in a fight. You know, they say styles make fights. And this is a perfect fight for me to display my talent, display my skills against another striker who's coming to do some karate shit, you know, and he's going to get knocked out.
And I want to touch on that Punk fight one more time. It was the jab. It's the shoulder roll. That's all you needed to show for me to go.
Even the jab, like the jab is look, people know I'm a jab you in the face. And when I'm in the training room, they know I'm a jab. The jab is that's my primary weapon. They don't know what to do with it because it's different, you know? And so that's why if you're going to take one, and I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to jab your face off. I'm going to jab your face off. You have to stop the jab, though. You know what I'm going to do, but if you can't stop it, none of that shit matters. I don't care how much you know. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. I'm going to come in the jab. Stop the jab. If you can stop the jab, then you can beat me. If you can't stop the jab, your face getting cooked.
For you, Stephanie,
and I like how you noticed the shoulder roll too. Oh shit. Even that. I tweaked that so much. Ooh. I tweaked the shoulder roll. It's not even a shoulder roll no more. It's just some beautiful art. That's what it is right now. My defense is cool. And I'm quoting someone that I sparred with. They walked up to me. They was like, yo, Mike Jackson, you got some cool defense. Who the fuck says that? Who says you got cool defense? I got cool defense. I'm going to show it April 23rd, and it's going to be spectacular.
Stepping into the octagon, as you said, this is shits and giggles for you. So I want to hear what the big picture goal is. What is, like, with all the focus, all these vast, different entities that you're endeavors that you're involved with, what is the big goal?
The ultimate goal here is to build generational wealth and financial freedom. And so for me, and I'm being honest with you, all I'm doing, I'm taking my purse from the UFC and I'm just gonna buy Bitcoin. That's literally all I'm gonna do with it. And for me, it's about building the wealth, right? But it's also about building the legacy. It's making sure that my family and my bubble are well off. I'm trying to build some shit over here. I'm trying to build an empire, right? And so for me, it's just about accumulating wealth, man. So I can provide for people. Like I have aspiration. I want to start a foundation. You know, I get to see people like Dustin Poirier, all these Regis Prograis, all these guys who are giving back. You know, for me, my main objective is to give back to the community. Like it's a lot of crazy shit out here going on, and I feel that I can do a lot of positive in the world with my platform. I feel that I'm doing it right now as an anti-racist. I'm using that in the ways that I'm doing it. People may not agree with it. That's cool. It's not for everybody. I'm a little spicy. But I'm using all of these things, that these acquisitions, so to speak. I look at when I go out and get this check, that's gonna be an asset. Now I get to invest that into what I'm building, man. So that's really the ultimate goal, man, is to just be financially free, to gain generational wealth, and to continue to build on this great legacy that I've already started with the foundation.
We've had a lot of laughs already. I got to take the conversation in a different direction real quick and make it serious. You touched on it there, your platform. We've touched on the t-shirt. Going to raise it up a little bit to your head, all the way to the hat. Not every athlete, not every minority, not every person is speaking out in the way that things should be. When did you make that decision that you were going to use your voice in this manner?
Oh, man. You know, the crazy thing about it, and I actually heard insider from like people high up in the UFC who know of me, right? And like these executives, and they're like, yo, why does Mike Jackson say and do the things that he says? Like, didn't he come from like this privileged background? And it's bigger than that. It's bigger than me, right? I see what my people are going through. I see what the world is going through. And I feel that this literally affects all of us. This isn't just like necessarily racism, it's classism, right? And when you have the majority of the population who is in a lower class, like I'm literally trying to fight for all of us at some sort, right? But in particular, I remember, oh man, this was probably 2013, 2014. So when I first started training, I went to this gym in College Station. Now, College Station already racist as hell, right? So I was in this gym and I meet a group of guys, right? Didn't stay with them in that moment, but still remain friends with you. Because again, we're in College Station. There are like 4 gyms anyway. So you're going to cross train, you're going to see people, small community. Fast forward, let's say 6 years, 5-6 years. I'm at an event and I'm backstage at a fight. One of the guys that I initially met at the gym when I initially started training, he walks up to me in the back and he says, "Hey, Mike, can I talk to you for a second?" So, and I'm not thinking that. I'm always just in my little zone. I'm fucking in the back, talking to people, taking pictures, whatever. So he pulls me to the side. He says, "Hey, I just want to let you know that you've helped change my life." You know, I looked at him. I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And so he says, I grew up around basically like racist, you know, I don't think he said clan members or anything like that, but he basically grew up in like this southern, in the South where racism was just common ideology, right? But he says, since knowing you, having conversations with you, interacting with you, seeing the things that you post on Facebook, you've helped change my perspective on life. And in that moment, I was like, oh shit. No one had ever said that to me. No one ever said it in those words. It's always just, I'm just out here doing my own thing. I'm not focused on, and at the time, I'm not really focused on how I'm impacting others. I'm just living my life. If I impact you, cool. If I don't, cool. But when you, in that moment, when you have someone come and say those words to you, me being who I am, right? Because again, I come from a privileged background. I understand the privilege that I have. And it's like, let me use some shit to my advantage. I talk about white people all the time. It's like, yo, you have this white privilege, use it, right? In that moment, I had to talk to myself. You have this privilege. Let's find out how we can capitalize off this. And so it took some time. It was baby steps. It went to the, oh shit, all right, let's post a little bit more. And then fast forward, let's say, I don't know, maybe 10 years, whatever, the whole George Floyd thing. I went to like my first protest. I was like, oh, and I'm seeing what's going on out here in this protest. I'm documenting, I'm capturing this now I'm a photojournalist again, right? So I'm capturing it from a photojournalist perspective. And it just, further just solidifies my ideas of where I need to be, what I use my brand for. And it's just to be anti-racist, because I understand what the world and what the system is built on. I understand how it operates. And I know people, look, I get pushed back all the time from oppositions. I get it. People don't like change. They enjoy being comforted, right? They enjoy being empowered. They enjoy being controlled. And when someone is trying to take something from you, especially if you feel it is yours, like we're just trying to take something back that don't even belong to you. But when you see what doesn't belong to you as yours, as your own property, and people are trying to take it from you, you're going to feel a way about it. So I get it. These people that I combat with online and in person, I don't lose any sleep on it. It doesn't even hurt my feelings in the least, right? Because I understand what it is. If you have an enemy, would you be upset that your enemy is trying to kill you? Or, you're not mad that the enemy's trying to kill you. You're just trying not to die. You're trying to defeat them, right? It's the same concept. Like, I understand what these people are trying to do. So I'm not going to waste energy being mad at them doing what they're designed to do. I need to use that energy in preventing them in doing what they're trying to do. And that's really my objective, being an anti-racist, because it affects everybody. It literally, because it's not racism. That's not really what it is. What it really is classism. And people have been blinded and misguided, and they don't understand simple shit, because again, they want to be comfortable. They want to live in the little bubbles that they want to live in. And I'm here to be as discomforting. I'm here to antagonize. I started a brand. Follow me on Instagram, Shits and Giggles brand. I'm here for your amusement, but with a purpose. And I have a purpose.
There was a word that you said 2 minutes ago that stuck in me throughout your entire answer. And I think it goes through everything we've talked about that you're doing. It's impact. Whether it's been taking the photo of a boy and how it comforted his family at a time of need, whether it's been what you've done with your podcast, with your platform, whether it's been affecting a bigot in a positive way or giving the trolls on the internet a new target, Mike Jackson has impact.
Man, I love the way you said that. I appreciate you for acknowledging it as well, because there's so many people who, again, like I got into it with some little MMA group the other day. I was like, bro, I'm not cutting. They were, they're MAGA. And they were like, you'll come out. I was like, bro, I'm not coming to your Klan rally, bro. Like, stop it. Like, and then they want to deny it. Like, yo, yeah, just because you say something that you're not, you're doubling down. I say that you're not, you double down on the bigotry. Like, all right, cool, bro. I'm not coming to your Klan rally. Just stop. So it's cognitive dissonance is real. And when I tell people, man, we're living in a time where you can kind of create your own story, right? And if you can create your own story, create your own narrative, and you can get some people to kind of like support you, because we're living in a way different time, right? Things advance so fast, right? We live in this technology age now. But if you can have this, and it can be the most outlandish, the sky's pink. But if you start getting, let's say you got 10 people you know what? Batting at it. I'm gonna use this one. The flat earthers. How about that? We'll go with the flat earthers, right? You got one person start talking about flat earthers, and then a bunch of other people start oh yeah, Earth is flat. Well, you got this people. Oh man, they're validating this idea, no matter how ludicrous it is. People are validating it, and then it just gains traction. But you're like, wait, that's not real. What you talking about? Like, they will combat you. That's all this is. Because simply people don't want to acknowledge their fault. They don't, shit, my bad. That's literally all this could be. If people would just say, shit, my bad. You right. No, we wouldn't have none of this. But people are so, they're stuck in their ways. They feel that they're right because of the support they get, because people encourage them to think this shit right. It's hard to combat with stupidity. It is hard. And so that's to my other point of why I engage with these people. They're not even trying to, like, I can tell. Like, I can interact with people, and because I had at the beginning of the pandemic, I met with business owners. I met with a nun who was a administrator at a private school, a major private school in the Houston area, by the way. And all these other individuals who they thought one way. And I was like, wait, let me help you give another perspective. And they ask questions. I can get with that. It's the people who just, they're not trying to grow. They're not trying to become a better person. They just want to be, and comfort is so relative, so subjective here. When I say comfort, because I think racism is like when you're constipated, right? And you just walking around like you feel like shit all day. And you see something, you say some crazy bigotry, racism shit, and it's like you fart and you, fuck, I feel better now. I got that out. And then you walk away and then it's coming back, and then you say some more shit. Like, that's what I feel it is, right? But just to get a way of what's the like a antacid, whatever this shit people take to
like Tums, like Pepsid AC.
I'm your Tums. I'm trying to help you feel better, but you don't want to feel, because you're like, that can't help me. This help. I feel better when I say this shit. I let it out, and you feel better in that moment. I'm sure you feel better in that moment when you say some hateful shit. I told him how I felt. I got it off my chest, and then 5 minutes later, you're like, shit, I got to go to the bathroom again. That's what I feel racism is like. You have people. These people have made the conscious decision to be this way, right? And then now that's cool, but you have to understand, like I said earlier, there are consequences for your actions. And I'm just here to give them the consequences and be as antagonizing as I can to these people who don't care about my well-being.
I love the food analogy right there. It's almost like a food that you're allergic to, because it's not good for anyone.
Bro, like, you're lactose intolerant, you eat cheese and pizza. Like, why would you do that? Because it feels good. I mean, cool. In that moment, it feels good. But then when you get home, you ain't gonna feel so good.
Racism is bad. The interview has been awesome. It's been a lot of fun. And the last question I want to ask you about is fun, because it seems like everything that you're involved with, you're having fun.
100%. Here's my thing, right? My objective, or a small objective in life, right? A secondary, right? Outside of the legacy I'm building, is to be stress-free. I don't believe in unnecessary stress, especially if now there are going to be outside factors that's going to bring some shit in your life. 100%. That's just life, right? But for me, I'm trying to mitigate the things that I can control. So for me, it's all about living. If I can live in a zero, especially affected by me to bring it in there, if I can live a zero stress-free life, that's my objective. And that's what I'm trying to do. And that's what I've done in my life. I'm trying to reduce the level of stress. So everything that I do, it has to be fun. It has to be enjoyable. I'm not trying to do shit. Why am I doing this? I've never had a 9-to-5 job in my life, right? I'll tell you that back. My very first job at 9 years old, I was doing medical billing for my stepdad. And that was even like a summer job. I went in, I did some work. on the computer, and I'm like, all right, it's lunchtime. Because I'm not trying to stay there all day, right? But I never really had. I worked at Circuit City back in the day. That was fun. But I was like 17 on commission, making like $2,000 a week. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not a, I've always enjoyed life. For me, the objective, right? You go to school, you graduate high school, you go to college, you graduate college, you go get this job, 9-to-5 job, you work in an office, you start a family, and then you're old and dead. Like that's kind of like the path that people will tell you about, right? That wasn't for me. I go to school was easy, make straight A's. High school was easy, make A's most of the time, few B's. But then I'm a chill person, so I kind of just go on my own. I kind of go with my own flow, right? So I'm making like straight A's or A's and B's. I graduate in like the top 12% of my class. I'm in the National Honor Society, and then the whole college thing. I only went to college because I just thought that's what you do. I'm coming from a family where my stepdad's a doctor. My mother's a nurse. My dad, he's a police officer. My dad, he's a super cop. He's like an Avenger for Houston PD. He's not retired though, right? But so I have all of these people who come from these positions of like influence. So I'm thinking I'm gonna do all this. And I get to the point like, yo, I hate school. I started, I was in engineering. I was like, I don't want to do that. It's too much school. I went to business, and I'm always a natural business person. I've been hustling since I've been selling pencils. I was selling bootleg CDs. I've always had a hustle, right? But I'm in this moment like, no, I don't want to do. What is this? What is this life that I'm living? I went to school. I was in school for like 10 years. I was like, I'm just gonna be a career student, right? But for me, I knew that, especially being in that process, like I didn't want to stay in school my whole life. I didn't want to do the schooling and then work the career. I wanted to create my own path. And when I got into fighting was the stadium, I guess, for me, the catalyst for me and creating my own path in life. I don't have to work a 9-to-5. I'm an artist in every facet, whether it's fighting as an art, whether it's photography as an art, whether I'm doing personal training or creating projects, doing interviews. Everything I do is artwork because I'm an artist. And so I want to create something all while being stress-free.
I could probably keep you on all day if you let me.
I enjoyed this, but I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I haven't had a conversation like this in quite a while, especially for someone. I know you don't know me real well or much at all, but from the points that you've made, and these are points. You didn't just read some shit. You didn't just see some interviews. Like the things that you're saying to me, and maybe you knew them or you didn't know them, but you acknowledged some things that I'm like, oh shit, like this guy really has been paying attention to my journey throughout this time.
Oh, I have been. True fan, sir, and truly dedicated also, like you, to the art of trying to produce good content and media.
Man, my God, I love it. And that's what it's about, man, producing some solid content, because you building something over here, right? With your platform. You get these interviews and your accumulation, you have this archive of this footage and these conversations that you get to grow yourself. That's the other thing. You get to grow from having these conversations, getting these perspectives from different people, taking them in as you can kind of take what you want, reject what you don't want, right? And you get to grow. You get to become a better person. And then you get to share that knowledge with other people. And that's what this shit is about, man. It's about making people better. Like, that's what I'm about. I just want to make people better. Like, that's literally, I didn't even think about it until right now. And I've said this. Like, that is one of my main objectives, is just to make people better. But like, no, you don't have to be an asshole. I know I'm an asshole by nature, but I'm also an asshole by choice, people who deserve it. But people don't have to be that. They don't have the same drive as me to be an antagonist to assholes, right? You don't have to be that. Just be a good person and try to be the best person you can be.
Every time I get over here, every time I do an interview, I just want to let somebody tell their story, give somebody the platform, and try to spread the word. I've always just been a fan of MMA, and at a point before I started this, I was like, There's not enough people talking about this sport, and these guys put in way too much to not be talked about as much as the major four sports.
For sure. And last point. So when I started doing the interviews, right, I started doing the interviews and the whole personality because I saw people in the space. Again, it was like 2008, 2009. I saw people in the space who had no knowledge, right? There was this one kid, I remember he was doing some interviews at a fight. And so he's doing like these pre-fight interviews. He's like, hey, he's talking like the guys are kind of just, he kind of catch them as they're passing by. And I'm kind of just hanging out, just observing, right? Because at the time I wasn't doing interviews, I was just doing my blog. So I'm sitting here watching dude do his interview, and he's literally asking the same question. Yeah, how is training going? How you feel about the fight? How is the weight cut? Right. So he's doing this over and over and over. I'm like, yeah, he just asking the same question. Well, he gets to a heavyweight, and he's asking the same question, and then he said, "Yeah, how's the weight cut?" And then the dude just looks at him. He's like, "I'm a heavyweight. I didn't cut any weight." Oh, yeah, you're right. That was the first one, and then I think I heard like someone on ESPN when I was like, it was talking about UFC. I was like, oh, these people have no idea what they're talking about. I have, given the skills I possess, being charismatic, being able to talk to people, but also having knowledge of the sport. I was like, yo, I have to get in this space, and the rest is history.
And I look forward to seeing you there on ESPN soon.
My man, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate the support and the love as well.
Again, how can everybody keep up with the media? How can they go view it, everything you're doing, everything you're producing?
Man, so right now, because I got banned on Instagram, it was at the Truth Jackson. I got banned for cooking too many white nationalists. I call those people snow roaches. They don't really like that. You can find me on Facebook at Mike the Truth Jackson, where you get access to the photos that I put out. On Twitter, a little spicy on Twitter, but it's good for conversation. I'm at the Truth Jackson. And then you can follow me on Instagram, my brand page, because this is what we're doing it for. We're doing it for the Shits and Giggles brand. That's what the hat is, at Shits and Giggles brand. It's been on the back burner because I've been really focusing my attention on building these other little projects I've been working on. But the finance is going to be coming through here in the next few months. Like I told you, taking the UFC check, buying Bitcoin with that. I hope to have that brand. It's going to be a brand apparel. We're going to do shirts, going to be t-shirts, gear, all kind of, or t-shirts, sweats, socks, all that shit, hats. But it's Shits and Giggles brand, because that's what we're here for. We're here for the shits and giggles, our amusement, but with a purpose.